Earlier today, I joined my fellow Wisconsinites as they gathered in solidarity with our friends and neighbors who are most affected by the construction of the Foxconn facility. While much of the national focus this story has been given by television and print media, and even the president's visit here today for the groundbreaking, has made it seem largely like a political issue, but I believe that they're missing the point. Because at its core, this isn't a story about politics, it's a story about people. Specifically, it's the story of the people in this community that are now facing the devastating and all too real consequences of what the construction of this Foxconn plant means for them and really for all residents of Wisconsin. We can certainly discuss the facts and the figures, like the fact that Foxconn and Governor Walker promised us that this would mean the creation of some 13,000 jobs, or the figure of 3,000, which is how many jobs are now projected to be created. Or we could talk about how Wisconsin's taxpayers are going to be footing a bill of $4.5 billion, and how, in a best case scenario, the earliest that Wisconsin might hope to break even on this deal is the year 2043. Finally, we could talk about how in under a year, we are already so far away from the promises we received when this deal was made. But that too would be to miss so much of the story that desperately needs to be told. So instead, I want to focus on the people that are being affected by this. I want to shine a light on what's not being talked about. I want to talk about the fact that our local governments have deemed homes built as few as 18 months ago, and farms and farmlands centuries old as blighted, in order to secure the land that Foxconn preferred. This means that families, and sometimes families who have lived in these places their entire lives, are being turned out of their homes. Some are scrambling to find a place to go. Our friends and our neighbors are being forced to have high-pressure gas lines run through their properties, with really being given little to no ability to refuse, and without being given the facts about the potential dangers that come with the steel pipes that are being buried only 4 feet below the soil, and what that might mean to them and to their farmland. Despite their pleas for information at village meetings and with calls to We Energies, their questions have gone unanswered, and their worries have gone unaddressed. What they now know, what they have found out on their own, is that the pollution that is coming from this plant will cause toxins to mix with our water sources. And yet, because the state decided to waive the usual environmental impact studies, and worse, has changed the laws to accommodate for higher levels of toxins to be permissible, there's really no way to know how polluted our environment will become, only that the air that they breathe and the water that they drink will likely be less safe than it is now. Please don't misunderstand me. I am very much pro-jobs. I'm very much in support of ensuring that working people in Wisconsin have good jobs, good paying jobs, the kind that provide opportunity and the ability to provide for their families, to raise themselves out of poverty, and to save so that one day they are able to retire with dignity. Wisconsin businesses have been able to do this in generations past, and it's worth remembering that it wasn't at the expense of their neighbors. Just imagine what we could have done with the $4.5 billion we handed to Foxconn had we just invested that money instead in homegrown businesses across the state. So it is now on us, as residents, as taxpayers, and as current and future elected officials, to demand transparency and demand that Foxconn holds up their end of the deal. We must be the ones to ensure that they are being held accountable.